back to another episode of Let's Explain Moba. This episode we're doing Shop System episode 3. I don't fully know what I've covered in the previous episodes. I know what I should be covering-ish, but I've made a few changes since then. So I'm going to be going over the few changes I made, and then we're going to go over the build, the buy item section, and I'm going to then, obviously, that's going to end the series there. If you do have anything that I would think cover, or you feel like it should be covered more, please just state. And I'd love to cover them a bit more, but right now I'm just going to cover what I'm covering. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is simply just, I think I'm just going to start off with something very simple. I'm going to just start off with the buy item system, but actually I should be doing the stuff I didn't cover last episode. I'm staying a bit far away from the mic this episode, because I felt that, because I normally stand quite close to the mic, basically next to it, because I feel that's a bit louder, a bit easier to see here, but I'm going to try this episode quite a bit far away. I'll even recline a bit. Okay, and tell me if this is enough. I'm still shouting a little bit, but I feel that this is about right. Okay, so we're going to cover systems. We did make a few changes, not there, just cleaning up stuff, because there's a few bugs. One change we made was here. We separated these things up, they were kind of together, and we added this section here, which essentially added all the built-intos, which didn't exist before. And then here we're also adding, so basically extending the full price, because we were having the full price wasn't being extended. And then what was happening is when we were buying it, we were kind of buying it back, and we weren't refunding the proper price. So we were just kind of, refunding the recipe price, and then you're buying back the item, and it just kind of cancels itself out. So another thing we changed was down at the very bottom, but we're going to be covering that once we cover it, which you would know about that change since we didn't cover it on camera last time, I think. Okay, so here when we're buying an item, we're asking for two things. We're asking for the item name and whether or not we're gonna add a undo set for it, allowing you to undo it, which isn't always good. You don't always want to be able to undo items, but sometimes you do. Selling items you don't want to undo, essentially, is one thing, because when you sell an item, we do want them to buy it back, but it's kind of difficult. You don't want to buy them back then sell after that. So essentially, we're checking whether or not we have enough spots for items here. If we have enough spots, which is what this is, if a number of items is less than spots available, or we have the previous items. This means that we have at least one of the previous items. And if we have at least one of the previous items, then we're going to check if we have enough gold for the item. If we do, that means we can replace the previous item. Previously, you required all the previous items. Now we only require one. So, if we require the items, if the number, so essentially what this does, I'll show you what this means. It asks for a string of the item name. The two is just for confusion's sake. And then if we have, if the item requires other items, then we're gonna say, hey, we're just gonna create a variable saying how many items you bought. We're gonna go for each of the requirements, and if you bought the item, then we say, hey, you bought an item. If you bought more than one item, or more than no items, one or more items, then you've returned true. You have bought previous items. Else, return false. And if it doesn't require any items, return false. So there's no escapes for the system. It's pretty simple. Okay, if we have enough gold, this is all it says. If the final price, which is different from the full price is essentially at the very beginning. If you don't have any of the previous items to buy it outright, this is that, right? But the final price is including stuff like reducing the cost for, I don't know, previous items. Boolean added whether or not we've added the item yet, and whether or not you've had previous items, and we're just keeping in control of this since, especially when we're moving it, we want to make sure we still know whether or not we had the previous items. Yeah, item private doesn't really need to be here, more needs to be done here, but that's fine. Essentially, it's kind of difficult. It's not really item private. It's basically what items did we replace, so let's say I had two items, and the item I was buying required those two items. So when I bought the item, it would delete those two items. But if I was to undo it, it would have to bring back those two items. So that's what item private is. It's just a way to bring back them. So if we have enough slots and you didn't have any previous items, then what? Because I know it seems weird, but if you had previous items, it's just going to replace one of them, right? If you didn't have previous items, it's going to use a new slot. Now, while this seems weird, and while you go, oh, this is a bit weird, it's a bit, you know, you don't really need previous items. It's a way to make sure it doesn't happen twice, and it's simple, really simple. And then we say we've added the item, and then afterwards, so we don't even care right now. We're not caring if you've added the item yet. We only care really down here somewhere. Yeah, here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the items, right, that are previous, all the previous items, and then if you still have not added the item, we've concluded that you've had enough gold for it and you've had the intention to buy it, so we're going to buy it. And then obviously we didn't have stuff. So if you acquire the items, if the item requires other items, right, then we're going to go through each of those requirements, and if they're bought, then we're going to remove the item. Remove string item is just a fancy word for saying remove item with a text of this, and just goes for each one of the items, and if the item matches the text, it removes it. Item private, essentially what I said before, it's just saying, hey, well, this item we just removed. Since we're not, it doesn't really turn an item, so we can't really do anything there. And what we're going to do is we're going to, if you add sets, which add sets is kind of weird. Essentially what we're saying is if we're adding sets, and what add sets essentially state are that if we're going to add undos, then we're going for each one of those undo sets, and if the undo sets, if the item changed that we've just obviously the item that we've changed, if the texture is equal to the requirements texture, then we're going to remove it. And technically you don't really need the add sets here. Actually, we don't want it, because it means if we're not adding sets, that'll be a problem. Yeah, we don't want it yet. So what we're saying is we're saying we're going for each one of the undo sets, all undos, and we're going, hey, if you actually have an undo for this item, so you've just bought it and you're able to undo it, we don't want you to undo something that didn't exist in the first place, right, because you just sold it. So we want to make sure that's there. And then break will break out of the for statement, otherwise it'll keep going through, and we only want it to happen once. So that will only make it happen once. Even if you've got like 4 items, it will only delete one of them. The first one, by the way, the one it will delete will be the one in order that you have just bought, because that's how undo sets work. So in the order that you bought them, not in the like left to right. So if right now we haven't added the item yet, we've obviously had enough gold and everything, but we still haven't added the item, and we had the previous items, or had a previous item, and we have now enough slots, then we're going to add the item. And you go, but what if we don't have enough slots? Then something seriously has gone wrong, because we've just said that we had the previous items, so we must have removed those previous items, and you must have done, there must be some freaking escape hole, but there's no way for that to happen. If that happens, then we need to know how it happened, right? So that's good to have this. And I mean, you could have a debug or something else, but that's good. This is the hardest line in this thing, the one that will take the most to understand. We're saying add an item. This is a script under play inventory, and we've already covered this in the first episode. If you haven't, I'll cover it's already under inventory manager, but I guess I'll show you. So add items here, we just go for each one of our inventories, and if we have enough inventory space, then we say it's not, the first slot that's not filled is equal to that, the inventory ID is equal to that, the number of items is equal to that, then we move it, then we organize it. A move string item just goes through all of them, and if it actually exists, then yeah, it actually exists, we remove it. Okay, I mean that. Okay, then here we go. So we're adding an item, this stuff, right? And what we're checking is no, we're not checking anything. We're just adding an item, and the item that we're giving it is the item name. The item name that you just asked us to buy, we're giving it that item. But to give it a whole new instance, what we do is we do something called system.activator.create instance. All it's just telling the system to create a new instance of something, a new instance of a specific type, a new instance of a type. So we create a new instance of an integer, a new instance of a float, of a list. But what we're saying is actually saying create a new instance of a script. So we're getting the type of item name. So we're saying, give us system.type.getType, and this will return it as a, essentially, basically, it will return it as a script. I don't remember the type for scripts, even if they have a type, but it will get the type and we'll say, hey, this is a script. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to convert this whole statement here into an item. Because we can, because this will inherit from an item. If it does. If it doesn't inherit from an item, then there's something wrong, because you don't obviously have the item. Meaning that you shouldn't be selling it, because that means you've obviously made a mistake in your items. You gotta make sure that item name is exactly this, otherwise it'll stuff up. Exactly. No spaces, no less. Or if you got spaces, add spaces. If you don't add them. For adding sets, then we add new undo. Or if I'm private as the third one, which is essentially, is it gonna tell me what it is? Yeah, it's gonna previous items. If we don't have enough gold, this is just our statement to not enough gold. We say, hey, we don't have enough gold. Maybe we could have a little thing that comes with saying not enough gold. Else you say out of spaces. And then we update the database, and they'll make all the values reset. And you see how simple it is? I'm pretty sure I covered all this. So if I haven't covered anything, please just stay in the comment section below. But I will go just through the script quickly, and so you can pause it if you are missing a bit of the script. So you got this section here. See, pause it if you want it. And then you got this section here, just awake. There you go. Obviously you need to pause these, you can't just write it down. Here's your section. There you go. Here's your section for update. There you go. I think that's fine. And then here's your section for undo and add the undo. So these basically the add shop item, this stuff. There you go. That's pretty easy to read on my screen. I can read that. I will, by the way, are you guys fine with this being 60 frames per second? If it is at all laggy, I can lower down the frames. I think it's fine. I don't really notice any lag. Okay. Here's obviously just coding, so it's pretty simple. Here's a refresh shop window, but yeah, I do record these videos in 60 frames per second, and they are just coding videos. I did that because I record all my videos in 60 frames per second. I think it makes a difference in gaming, it does make a difference in coding, but it's just like, if you see a guy making 60 frames per second, I feel it makes you, he seems better. He seems a lot more in touch with people in the fact that he's doing something obsolete. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'll make this more in the center. There you go. There you go, and then here's the big section. This is all of it, so this is all just by item. So just write that all down. I'll just pause. You definitely should pause for that one. You won't be able to type fast enough. Okay. Just to update database and maybe sell it item. Oh. And build item in shop. That won't get done. So yeah, you can pause that. And then here you go for the last one. There you go. You can pause that. Here's undo link for you to pause. Here's item for you to pause. Tell me if you want to do more of these. Obviously, there'll be another video talking about this stuff. This was actually really quick. Tell you his stats if you want to. Obviously, that's not pausable. New item is it. This isn't very useful. This is useful, of course, but it isn't very useful. You guys stop and watch. Look at that one. And then we're looking at shop set. There you go. Then shop data. So it's done. There you go. Let's do this section. TikTok goes the clock. And there's the rest of it. Click detector, take mouse over to the main ones. Yeah. Into display, I guess. So there's stat display. There you go. Here's clip detector. There you go. And here's detect mouse. There's UI there, so make sure you have UI. So I'll just do that and then move that one. There you go. I think there's nothing else to do. So I think that's the end of the series. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. If you want any other explain Mobas, please leave them in the description box below, and I'll have a look and decide whether or not I'm going to do one. I probably will. I'm going to try cover everything, but one at a time. Yeah. Hopefully cover them, most of them before the Moba. I probably won't be covering most of them before the Moba series ends, but hopefully a lot of them. Anyway, see you guys next time.